Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're going to be looking at something older, but something that's been getting the Murphy's Magic kind of republishing treatment. This has happened quite a lot. I didn't even know about it, but I saw it recently when I was browsing ALAKAZAM. That Cold Case by Gregory Wilson got an upgrade in terms of packaging and is getting kind of repushed on the market with this new packaging and this new rebranding of the effect. So I decided what better way than for me to take this out, the one that I have for years and years, and make a review for you, because essentially the gimmick, the instructions, everything remains the exact same as the original, except for the packaging is much nicer than this old one. So having said that, let's roll the intro and get straight into this. Perfect, so you decided to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Cold Case. So what is Cold Case? Cold Case is essentially a switching device. So, the best way to do this is in person with actual spectators, but since I don't have that, I'll do it up front to the camera. And again, I'm not Gregory Wilson, because Gregory Wilson does this spectacularly on the trailer, even to the camera, but I'm not him, so it may not look as well or as good as him. But essentially what you would do is you would have a deck. It could come shuffled at the end at any point in the routine, or the way that he shows this is, at the end you say, okay, thank you everyone so much for coming. But you know what? What about we try one last thing here? We'll get rid of the box. How about we try one last thing? And then of course, you would be able to switch the deck. Obviously, you would not switch it to something this obvious, but for the purpose of this review, I did switch it just so you can see that you can actually switch the deck. So that is what Cold Case by Gregory Wilson will allow you to do. So now that you know that, let's talk about where you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get. So you can buy this directly from any of your favorite Magic dealers. It will set you back 50 USD, which is 70 Canadian dollars. And what you get with your purchase is going to be a new box. You're going to get the new kind of white box packaging that Murphy's have. So you're going to get that. Obviously not this one. Inside, you're also going to get the same instruction link as this one, where you're going to learn routines from Gregory Wilson. That's going to teach you how to use this, how to make it, because you do have to make it a bit. It doesn't come pre-made. You will have, because you can use this with any deck. You can use Red Bike, you can use with Phoenix, any deck that you want. You'll have to make up the box quickly for it to work. Then you're essentially going to learn a bunch of routines, but more specifically, you're going to learn the movements that you need to get in order to do this fluidly. As you can see, I'm not the best at doing this because I don't really use this. I don't really use deck switches in my work, and if I do, it's usually in parlor shows or in seated down shows where I can literally do a trick, put the deck in the case, take out coins, do something with coins, and when I take out the deck again, I've just switched it. That's usually what I do. I don't do mid-switch performances, but if you are a working and strolling professional, maybe something like this would be more interesting to you. So he teaches you how to do it standing up, sitting down, on a table, no table, etc., etc. And of course, on top of the box and the instructions, you're going to get your gimmick, which is this. This is made for a red bicycle deck, but you can easily make this gimmick to fit any deck that you want. The gimmick is extremely sturdy. It will never break on you. The only thing that could break is the box that you put on top, because, well, this is just a normal box. So this, you could eventually just switch it out, double stick tape, and you're good to go. You remove it, you put a new one, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna leave the gimmick right here on the table so you guys can actually see it throughout the review, and that is what you're getting with your purchase. So now let's talk about difficulty. How difficult is this to perform? This is pretty easy to perform once you get the knack of it. So what I mean by that is that it is relatively easy in terms of the movements and in terms of the fluidity, but it does take a lot of practice in order to get it as smooth as Gregory Wilson. It will take you practice in order to justify the movement. It will take you practice in order to get the offbeat. It will take you practice in order to understand for your hands where the fingers are better. Is it better for you to hold it like this, the deck, when you're doing this switch? Is it better for you to hold it a bit deeper like this? Is it better for you to hold it with these fingers, with these fingers, with these fingers? All of that you're going to have to try and experiment and play with this constantly over and over and over again in order to get it down. Specifically, in order to do a full deck, for a full deck, it's going to take more practice than, for example, a 3/4 deck for a 3/4 deck, or close to half a deck to close to half a deck. It's going to be much easier to do than a full deck to full deck. So probably full deck to full deck will take you a lot more practice in order to get down fluidly and easily. Okay, so now in terms of practicality, what do you have to carry around to do cold case? You have to carry around your cold case gimmick and your gimmicked deck. So obviously you're not just going to switch a normal deck for a normal deck. There's absolutely no purpose, except if you want to do something like a color changing deck or anything like that. But if you want to ring in a gimmick deck or an invisible deck or something like that, then you will need to provide that deck with your cold case and carry that at all times with you. Additionally, the cold case does not carry a deck of cards, so you're not going to be able for the cold case to be your deck carrier. It will not necessarily work that way. If you put a deck in it and you close the flap and you put it in a pocket, it will stay. But don't expect like this being, a carrying case for your deck, for your gigs. That is not what this will allow you to do. Except for that, in terms of table, you do not need a table to perform this. In terms of inspectability, the box is not inspectable whatsoever. In terms of angles, the angles for this routine are not 360. They are, while you're holding the gimmick or the deck kind of like this, so if you're performing to specters in front, you're going to be holding it like this. No one can be to this side or here. So this is kind of your angle here. So it's kind of almost this kind of like a 180 angle, like an obtuse angle. So it kind of goes like this. So that's going to be your field of vision. No one is going to go on the 180 facing the other corner of this deck. So that is the angles for you for this effect. In terms of repeatability, the switch, if you're good, can be repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And yeah, that's all I have to say about practicality. Let's move into where would you perform. So where would you perform this? Personally, I feel that this is very good for stand-up performances. I don't see why you would use this in a tabled setting when you have so many different ways to switch decks in a tabled setting. You can use in a table setting literally just lapping. You can literally place the deck to the side for a moment while you talk and you switch it. You could have a servant and literally say, okay, in a mode, shuffle the deck, blah, blah, blah. And you say, but what's most important? I want us to do kind of like a ritual. You place the deck in the servant, you have everyone hold hands around the table, you take back the deck, place it in the middle, and you've switched it. So I think in a tabled setting, there are so many better variations and better methods than cold case to achieve that. And in my opinion, there's even better fake switching deck devices out there on the market than this for a tabled setting. However, if you are a close-up stand-up performer, table-to-table, wedding type performer, you don't really have ways to switch decks except if it's like, palming a deck, having something like this. You're here, you have the deck, you say something like, okay, look, we're gonna give it a cut or whatever, and then you switch the deck in the action of giving it a cut or anything like that, or you get what I mean, kind of those switches for close-up settings. So this is actually a good one because it covers you in multiple angles in order when you're doing this switch. So it could be more beneficial for you in those settings, but personally, it could work anywhere, but I think it's better just for table hopping close-up performers. So now that we've said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of this effect? First, let's get into the negatives as always. One of the negatives is, of course, that this will not be covered from all angles. So this will not be a deck switch that is covered from all angles. Not all deck switches are covered from all angles. There's rarely even any that you are covered from all angles, except for, I believe, the one by Christian Engblom. I forgot the name, but I think that one you actually have almost a 360 angle when you're doing it. But except for that, most of them suffer from angle issues, and this one is no different. Secondly, in terms of negatives, is that this will take a lot of practice to do, and you will also have to justify why you are keeping the deck box in your hand for the entire effect or for a portion of the effect. He does tell you ways to do it in performance, because most of the time, he does it in a way where he says, okay, thank you all for coming. And as he puts the deck in the box, says, you know what, let's try one last thing. And then he switches the deck. But in performance, it's harder to justify just doing an effect and just blatantly just holding a deck box in your hand. He does go over some justifications, but those will be up to you if they're up to par with your satisfaction. Now, in terms of positives, one, the instructions are Gregory Wilson, which means they are fantastic. The instructions are A1. Second of all, this is very important, is that the gimmick will never, ever, ever break or damage on you, which means that once you buy this, it is literally a lifetime investment, except the fact that you'll have to just replace the cover, which will get, beat up in your pockets and as you're performing, which is super easy to do. Basically, the gimmick itself will last you for the rest of your lifetime, which is a major, major bonus. Once you actually get used to this, as Gregory Wilson is, this will actually be super deceptive, super quick, and super fun to use to just switch decks in front of your spectators without them ever noticing. So having said this, what do I give it out of 10, and would I recommend this? If you're a close-up card working performer that wants to switch decks into routine, or have always wanted to, for example, do a few effects with a normal deck and then switch in, for example, a deck that's specifically cut, or a Mirage deck or anything like that, and you've never been able to do it in the mix of the performance, then this is a very easy way for you to do it with some practice. It is a good mechanism to do if you don't want to do it in the pockets, because honestly, you can also do switches in your pockets with decks. We're all accustomed to that. But if you want something that's in front of the spectators, that you can literally, the deck basically never goes out of sight. You just take it, you say, you know what, let's try this with one more thing, then this is for you. Personally, this is not for me, since I've bought it years and years ago. I have never used it in performance. I've never found the opportunity for me to use it in performance, or an interest for me to use it in performance. And I'm being honest about that. I wouldn't lie or anything like that. But I do still think this is good, and I think that people will get some use of it. But for me, it just did not get any use, especially now with where I'm moving with my mentalism and basically kind of putting card magic a bit to the side. I don't foresee me using this even after unboxing it and looking at it. I think it will stay where it was, and I will not necessarily be performing it, but that doesn't mean that you won't. Overall, it's still a good product. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. And that's all I have to say about Cold Case by Gregory Wilson. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you on my next review. Have a good one, and bye-bye.